Gentlemen of the approach. So I'm sat here, bench in central Belgrade. It's midnight on Saturday night. I should be in the clubs raving right now, but I'm not. I would rather be in the park. I would sooner be in the park, chilling. And so we're going to discuss a topic this evening, which is why men became kitty cat beggars, how it happened, what you can do to escape it. And I'm going to go on a deep cultural exploration here this evening. So you've seen the thumbnail there. There's a picture of St. Sava's Cathedral, the Orthodox Church. Why do I include these cryptic photos in my thumbnails for those insiders, those highly intelligent, initiated men? First mover, good to know, mate. That was a good session we had the other day. And keep me posted on how, the push-ups are going and your missions are going, mate. Yeah. But I'm going to talk today about, why men became kitty cat beggars. Box beggars. Yeah. Why that happened, how it happened. So, biologically, men have always had and always will have a high sex drive, especially young men. The testosterone level, we have the highest testosterone levels of any species. There are some species, like for example, a bull shark has testosterone spikes that go very high. But humans, as a baseline, we have consistently high testosterone all the time. Which basically means we're a species that is in a very, we just have much higher levels of sex drive than any other species, in fact. And our women as well can get pregnant for year round. Not that they can get pregnant all month round, but they can get pregnant year round, which is unusual. Most of the time you tend to have, most animals, they have like a season when they're in heat, and then the men come plow them, and then they go back again. They're either pregnant or they're not. All women can get pregnant year round. So we're an unusual species in that respect. We're actually a hypersexual species, humans. Much more than we give ourselves credit for. We look at rabbits and different animals and so on. We're much more hypersexual than most. But we're also strange as well. We're a strange species in the sense that we're more communal. Most mammalian species, you have really a dominance tournament where you have one male that basically has reproductive rights over most of the males. Now people can argue that's the way the species there is an argument that the human species has kind of moved a little bit back towards that in recent years. The 80-20 rule on Tinder, that type of thing. Fundamentally though, that isn't really the species we are. We are more towards pairing off one-to-one. We are kind of more towards that. So in that regard, we're a kind of a blur. We're not like a penguin that penguins just mate off one by one together, but we're also not tournament apes. The reality is we're a kind of blur somewhere in between. The high levels of testosterone in human males, that creates much, much, much higher levels of sex drive across all men, and essentially constant, let's call it sexual competition. And then the female's ability to get pregnant year round, it leaves that competition open year round. And we also have a lot of pair bonding chemicals as well. So we're somewhere between a tournament ape and a penguin. We're more towards, we're an in-between species sexually, but with an extremely high sex drive. So why am I talking about this? Just explaining the biological underpinnings of sex. there's very foolish people online who talk about things like sex addiction and how it's something that needs to be explained by trauma. People talk about men needing sexual validation and so on. It's really complete garbage, especially from the male side. So men have 10 times the amount of testosterone as women. Testosterone is the main driver of sexual desire. It's not the only driver, but it's the main driver. So the pain that most men live with, especially in their 20s and 30s, the pain that most men live with just for relentless sex drive. I mean, well, the word is pain. I don't think most men, if they were honest, I don't think they would actually choose to have that much sex drive. When you think about how much time and energy simply goes into getting a woman, if you didn't have that drive and you just simply mated like once a season, like once a year, for your life, that actually would be preferable. You'd be more productive, you get more stuff done. But the constant, relentless sex drive that men experience, especially young men, it's just a result of biology. It's nothing to do with trauma, anything like that. It's very poorly, it often does come from, I have to say, it does come from female psychologists online. This is not something that needs to be explained away. It's present in all men. It's perfectly healthy. It doesn't mean all young men are going to be promiscuous, but a lot of them are going to experience extremely high sex drive all the time. It may mean they want to channel that into one person. They may want to channel it into multiple different girls. I think the healthiest route, honestly, now is, I do think channeling it into one person is more healthy, to be honest. That's the eventual conclusion I've come to, but that's not the point of this. So the high sex drive is just there. But we've degraded into something beyond that, because there are cultures where the men have a high sex drive. Latin culture, Islamic culture, where we haven't degenerated into a kind of worshipping of the kitty cat, and that is where we are now. And I'm doing a lot of thinking at the moment. I go through phases where I think a lot about different things, think really deeply about things, and I know there is something even in me that has absorbed this. It's just, if you live as a seducer, is there a part of you that puts women, even if you don't put an individual woman on a pedestal, is there a part of you that puts women in an almost deified position, in the sense that the act of seduction and sexuality is maybe not the highest good, but it's one of the highest goods. I've definitely been through a phase of my life where it was the highest ambition. It was the only ambition for a phase of my life. Maybe it's something guys have to go through. So I've been through it, but it's definitely a question that I ask. And like most things you worship other than God, anything you worship or you put as your highest good that is not God will eventually destroy you. Yeah. Anything. Yeah. It's interesting how that divine hierarchy works. You put wealth above everything else, chances are eventually that wealth will destroy you. You put, I don't know, physical beauty above everything else, chances are eventually that's going to destroy you. You put sex above everything else, chances are that's eventually going to destroy you. It's really interesting. Ultimately, you have to put something transcendent at the top of the tree. You have other things very close or up there as well. Ultimately, the only thing that's not going to destroy you, at least doesn't seem to. Maybe I could think of a counterexample, but doesn't seem to destroy people in the same way. It's just an interesting observation. So the reason I put the church in the thumbnail there is because It's a very dangerous thing to do it's a very real risk in a kind of atheistic society where no one actually believes in anything higher. It's very risky that you can just become a worshipper of nonsense. You can become a worshipper of garbage. You can become a worshipper of the female form. And so, whilst I teach dating, I teach approach on this channel, I want guys to get women. I want them to have sexual experiences. I want them to have good relationships with women. I also want to package a forewarning. Be careful what you worship. Be careful what you worship. Don't want to fall into the trap of worshipping women. So it's an interesting thing because you can be very good at seduction. You can be very skilled in the whole thing, but remain detached and in a way remain like not in a frame of worshipping women. That's definitely where I am at the moment. So that's a good place to be. It's a good place to be. If you after this live, go check out my most recent infield. It's a really nice little infield, just 5 minutes long. It's let me know what you think of it. But I'm out in Serbia at the moment, Belgrade. One thing I noticed with the way the girls dress here is as provocative as any Western girl. It's maybe slightly less. They reveal more flesh, I would actually say, than most Western girls. They're all in hot pants, walking down the street. They're all in denim hot pants and vests, like basically showing everything. And there's a part of me, I look at them, and there is a part of me, like an inner animal, that just jumps to the surface. It's like a tiger that just goes, jumps, like it just wants to pounce straight away. It's immediate, and it's instinctive. It's precognitive. And it does make me think about religions and how in Orthodox Christianity, it is advocated that women are somewhat modest in their dress. In Islam, it's also advocated that women are modest in their dress. Obviously, that has transposed itself over the centuries to become things like the veil and so on. There is a part of me, though, that goes, when I see the women, I see the like young women, but older women as well, when I see the way they productize themselves, like just put a naked man and a naked woman, we're just walking around naked, right? It would probably be a bit distracting at first. Definitely. But then after a while, you kind of get used to it. You just kind of get used to seeing like, the female form, which is, fat ass, basically a bit more fat on the ass, tits, but when they don't have a bra on, they're just kind of flopping down, especially in any women over the age of about 25, 26. And you start to get used to that. But what we have in a way is much more provocative than nudity. What you actually see in the street is far more provocative than just outright nudity. Because the girls are wearing heels, which makes their backside go up in the air, it makes their ass look even more curvy. It's like a hyper stimulus. The fact that certain parts are hidden away, whilst other parts are shown, like all the skin is showing, but then the private it's kind of like more mysterious, right? More alluring. And something like a bikini is much more alluring and mysterious than a fully naked woman. Doesn't sound like that would be the case, but in terms of or it's not, I don't know. Nipples also, like nipples are something that's quite almost like uniquely alluring body part. But anyway, there's some, and the way obviously they have makeup on as well, which is emphasizing sexual characteristics, the lips, the eyes. Now it's interesting that they are sexualizing themselves. They have total freedom to dress however they want. They're sexualizing themselves. And Serbia is interesting because it's, in a way, it's traditional and it's old school, but like the way the girls dress and stuff is as crazy as any of the Western girls. They don't behave as crazy. So I think it's interesting. There's part of me, my assessment of that is my take on it. I think it's a power move by young women. I think they know that exposing their youthful, attractive flesh is powerful. I think they know that. I could be wrong. It could just be instinctive drive to show themselves, you know. Yeah. I think it's even if it's not perceived as a power move, the fact is it is a power move. An 18-year-old, I was at a fashion show a few months ago in Dominican, and there's a moment it was a bikini thing, right? But the girls were mostly covered up, and then one of the girls, she came out and then she went around and she actually took off and she had like the full bikini on, and she looked fucking ridiculous. Slim, big tits, mulatto body, right? This girl was fucking insane. There was another black girl who was similar as well. And there was a moment where there was a visible gasp. Like the crowd was like, whoa. And it was pure primal power on the part of the girl. It's a very interesting effect, that. When they're all covered up, it's all nice, fashion, yeah, she looks great. That happened and it was like nature, like naked, raw flesh, bang. Power. And also because she was so gorgeous and so frankly superior, physically superior. So maybe it doesn't start off as a power move, but I would think at a certain point they learn it's a power move. And then, you know, with time that power does fade as well. It doesn't last that long. You could put a 30-year-old like in front of me like that. Her tits could do it for me, but the rest of the body, I know it's just not the same. I've tasted the whole fucking age range from 20 to 35, 38. It's not the same after 30. Yeah, it's interesting. So it just makes me think about religion. You know, Christianity getting young women to be modest. Islam essentially, I mean, Islam is one I think about a lot because to some extent, Islam is the same as feminism. Islam and feminism are mirror images of each other. So feminism is it's basically a gang of decrepit, fat old, ugly old hags, slab-like bodies, you know, pale, disgusting skin, no muscle tone, no facial tone, just horrible old women in their 50s and 60s who were not even fit when they were young. But they were like 5s when they're young, now they're like 3s. And that's what you would describe as most feminists, right? Americans and so on, whatever. Disgusting biological refuse who are attempting to essentially rig the game in their favor by a kind of gang shaming tactic, gang activity, to try to rig resources in their favor, which they've done through DEI successfully, we should add, and then to try to rig the sexual marketplace in their favor by trying to shame older men who date younger women and so on, instead of just accepting their place in the natural order as frankly the bottom of the natural order. Sorry, you lost. You know, go to the third world and buy a rent boy, which is what they do. Yeah, I've lived in the developing world. The most interesting type of relationship out there, and the most frequent that I see, it's not guys who are quote unquote buying spouses. Not at all. Why would you buy a spouse? Like, if you can go somewhere where the prostitutes are $30, why would you buy a spouse? There's no point. It's the old women of the type I just described, dating the young rent boys and standing with $300 a month. A friend of mine makes his entire living of having Canadian and American middle-aged girlfriends. Each of them sends him like $300 a month. And he's got a rota. He makes about at least $1,000 a month, often quite a bit more than that, which is pretty good money in the DR. And there's loads of guys like this. It's so common. Yeah, female sex tourism of the type of woman I've just described is extremely widespread. That's what feminism leads to, right? It's just transparently trying to rig the game in favor of your group. And who's to say if I wasn't a woman, I wouldn't do the same thing? I don't think I would, because that type of tactic is just not my tactic at all. Take my mum for an example. She does not try to compete with you. She's 64. She doesn't try to compete with, you know, young women, or try to imagine that, you know, all the older men should all be running after the women her age. She just doesn't. She actually said when she was divorced at 50, her main fear was not being able to find anybody because of her age. She did find someone actually, but that was her main fear. But she doesn't resent that young women have their time in the sun as the attractive, beautiful girls. She appreciates looking at it for the most part, unless they're taking selfies. And that's because when she was young, she was in that position. She was the attractive girl when she was young. So now she's older. She's like, that was part of life, as a phase of life. Then she grew older. She had children. She did other things. So she doesn't resent these younger girls. But yeah, there's nothing more vicious than feminists. It's basically a confederation of ugly chicks and old chicks. And ugly women are the worst women as well. They have the worst personalities, they're the most resentful, they're most insecure, they're the most jealous. They're not good people. Never buy into this this idea that the weak and the victimized and the downtrodden, they're much better people than the powerful. They're usually worse. The insecure, almost always, to be honest, but especially with women, they're vicious. Ugly women are vicious. They've been wrecking a lot of my sets out here, actually. The 2 sets with an ugly friend. So that's feminism. Gangsterism of the hags and the ugly chicks. And it's failed on the relationship front. They've not really managed to rig it. The best attempt was with the American boomers and the American millennials. And the Gen Zs, forget it. Absolutely forget it. These little Gen Z gangsters, they're not interested. They're not interested in that nonsense. I guarantee if any Gen Zs, when they're my age, they're not going to be fucking around with like 40, 50-year-old women. They'll be doing what I'm doing. So they had a brief, maybe, victory for a generation through brainwashing and so on. They had backers, obviously. I won't go into that side of things. But they effectively lost. Now, what about Islam? Why are they a parallel? Islam is a parallel in the sense that it's a gang, it's a confederation of men, mostly older men, but just men in general, who basically conspire together to say, well, what assets do we have? Physical strength, number 1, political organisation, number 2, economic organisation, number 3. So let's just rig the system in our favour so that we get the women, we get the wives. What happens so basically the women are property, basically. They're essentially traded as property. We can dollar up all we want. We all know that's how it is. You can say that they're cherished property, respected property, Your most prized property, possibly all of the above, but they are property. Yep. And then obviously if they can't cheat at pain of death, punishment of death, you know. But it's a gang of men who's come together and said, right, we'll simply run the marketplace and fuck freedom. Who gives a shit about freedom? We'll sacrifice some of our freedom. The girls will sacrifice most of their freedom, but we'll get what we want, and hopefully, and maybe the girls get what they want, maybe they don't, but we can brainwash them anyway. But it's essentially male gangsterism. Far more successful, it has to be said, than feminism. Much more successful. They actually, ran civilizations and nations and massive parts of the world for millennia, for centuries and millennia. So, but they're both collective ways of navigating the sexual marketplace. I think it's really interesting. And one of the things you do is you cover up your wife and your daughter so that they're not constantly activating the sexual desires of men. I mean, it's interesting where at least they accept, they don't do the delusional thing that the West does, and they just say, okay, well, it's just all men who have a sexual response to women walking around practically naked or pathological. You should just be able to deal with that. You should be a strong enough guy to deal with that. I mean, it's just sort of unless you're literally low testosterone, it's just not realistic. Yeah, it's just not realistic. They recognize the phenomena of male arousal, and their way of dealing with it is to say, okay, we'll cover the girls up. It's effective. It's effective. So girls will still try and display themselves, though. And this is the funny part about it. They still try to display themselves. It's just human nature, right? So it's putting a container on human nature so that we're actually able to have something like a civilized society where it's not just a sexual fucking free-for-all at all times. What I actually think with the so even in Islam, the girls will productize themselves in a way that is, they'll productize themselves in a more gentle way. That's what I would say. And if you're going to have a sexually conservative country, I actually think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. Yeah, it is kind of, and this is something I think quite closely about. It is kind of a pain in the arse to be constantly faced with practically naked hot chicks all the time. It's kind of like, for fuck's sakes, can I not just go about my business here? It's all right saying it's your fault as a man, but it isn't my fault. I didn't ask to have that sexual response. It's all right saying you can control it. You can't. You can suppress it and pretend it's not there, but it doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, my preference, when I go to the gym or when I go to the track, my preference is to be completely alone, or just around men. Ideally alone, to be honest. But yeah, all the stuff on online about men in the gym and stuff like that in the US, because ultimately women, they do dig male attention. But part of me saying I think they dig it, and I think they get off on the power trip of having it, and I also think they get off on not giving it to guys as well. Yeah, I do. But then if men are constantly subjected to that, over time, does that have a negative impact? Like, does it actually have a negative impact on you? I'm spitballing thoughts here. So if you're in a sexually conservative country, relatively speaking, like Serbia is relatively sexually conservative, but the girls are all dressed basically like, literally, they're more revealing than escorts. In for example, where I live in the Dominican Republic, if they're dressed like that and it's sexually conservative, what are they doing? Is this not just a power trip? You know, yeah, if you're 16, you're going out half naked for the first time. You know, I remember my sister doing that. Now she looks back and thinks it's absolutely fucking ridiculous, thinks it's very stupid, but, you know, she was young at the time. But is it not just a power trip? Interesting question. And maybe that's because they don't have maybe it's because they don't have other power. I mean, young women don't really have any other power apart from that. They have no power anywhere else. They have no economic power, no political power, no physical power. Limited mental power in most cases. So that it would make sense that they would use that power. Yeah. A lot of life is will to power. It's a desire to feel powerful. There's a desire to feel strong, to feel notable. Everyone has it one way or another. It can either be expressed honestly, or it can be pushed away down under the surface. Like the girls who say I just dress this way for myself, I just don't believe it, to be honest. I just don't believe it. It's just obviously, it's self-evidently not true. Even if they think that, even if they genuinely believe that, at a certain point in time, as they've grown up, they've been exposed to women who have beautified themselves. They've looked at them, they've admired them, and through a process of mimesis, mimicking, they've decided that's how they want to look. Many human desires actually are a result of mimesis. They're not actually a result of, and this is where it gets interesting about human nature. A lot of things that you want, you learn to want because other people you think are admirable, or they're adaptive, or there's something about them you respect. Those people have expressed a certain desire, or they live a certain way. And actually a lot of our desires as humans are mimetic or social pressure as well. It's very interesting. Yeah, the social pressure is one thing. It's interesting when you go, fuck, even my own desires, are they even mine? And so girls have that. They play Barbies, etc. They see older girls dressed up, putting on makeup, and they admire it. If I have daughters, like, it will be literally like, I'll basically be running so here's my point. If I have daughters, I'll be running essentially an Islamic household. And it's interesting, the girl I most like over the last few years, and girls I've liked in the past as well, the girls from the DR, I mean, these girls have got incredible bodies, but for the most part, they dress very modestly, like very, very modestly. It's like an instinct as well. Some people ask if the girl I've been seeing out there, they see her around and they're like, is she like Christian, that girl? Is she very Christian conservative? I'm like, no, not really. She just likes to dress conservative. Maybe to distance herself, I don't know. She just likes to. Same with all my girlfriends out there. I've had the three loves of my life are all from the Dominican Republic. And they have the most insane bodies that I've ever seen. God, it's painful it almost brings me to tears to think about one of them, to be honest with you. Body is just, the best way I described it was to my friend Danny. I said, dude, so she moved to Spain, and I'm like half in love with her, half wanting to be single, you know the drill. But I'm flying over to Spain, and I'm flying her out to Portugal a couple of times, and we're having this international romance. Started off in Santo Domingo, and it went all over the world, and it was pretty. I didn't realize how intense it was until afterwards. It's definitely taken me a number of years to get past that relationship, if I even have. But I remember my friend we talked about it, I was like, dude, you don't understand. When I have sex with it, it's like shooting heroin. It's not like normal sex. Her body is so much fucking more. She had one of those bodies which looks like, if you just saw her in the street, you're like, oh yeah, she's got some nice curves. So it looks like a good ass, looks like some good tits under there. nice proportions, nice V taper, a little bit even exaggerated. And it's like, no, but you don't understand. She dresses modestly. You don't understand what it is under the hood. You fucking got. I was shocked. The first time I got her naked, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, what on earth? What on earth am I dealing with? And then that physical presence around me. You know when you wrap your arm around a woman's waist and she's got that curve that comes out, like popping out, and on the back as well. And then the curves on it, it's just she was just so slim as well. What was I doing, dude? I was cheating on this girl, like, for fuck's sake. What a fucking retard. If I could go back to my old 35-year-old self, I'd just be like, I'd pull a gun out. I'd just be like, right, here's how it is, yeah? This is how the world actually is, yeah? Stop being a fucking idiot. I was in this weird playboy phase, but again, is that just, I say being a playboy, but is it a pussy worshipper? In a way, I was getting a bit of revenge for all the years of dry spell that I was like basically practically my entire 20s. Only just picked up in my late 20s. And then by the time I knew I was attractive, I was 30. And by the time I started to get real, actual abundance, I was 35. And so she came along in that period. And I was just like, maybe there was even a part of me that hated women, to be honest. Because I felt like when I was younger, I was a decent guy. And I even had decent approach and I tried, but I just couldn't bridge the gap. Then I ran into some health problems as well. So I had to use so many genuinely manipulative tactics to fuck women when I was in my 20s. Nothing like, it was always like, it wasn't ever like anything even approaching criminal or anything like that, but it was withholding the truth. It was withholding the truth that I just wanted to bang this girl. And it was being mysterious and, that type of thing. And it's like, so sociopathic. But then they were playing bullshit games with me as well. And I just couldn't find anything that actually fucking worked. So I was using different formats of game, and the guys who were getting laid a lot, they were all doing the same. And so yeah, once I actually started to get options, I almost was getting revenge on women, actually. And my poor ex, she was there right in the middle of it. Fortunately for her. Those girls cured me though. The girls in the DR cured me for sure. Guys in the West, you don't actually understand how you're being abused, to be honest. You have no idea how you're being abused. It's not normal what guys are being put through. On some level, I think it's not normal. So anyway, to go back to the Islam question, their way of resolving for this, because they don't want to have a female-led, female-dominated sexual marketplace, is to just use their physical force, political organization to say, okay, this is how it is. And essentially, once you arise to a certain position in society, if you've got enough money and stuff, you basically buy a wife. And she doesn't have enough sway. She's not going to get financial independence and that type of thing, cultural independence, which, it's an interesting question, but there's a lot of technical questions there, but that's how they roll with it. And it's been effective for them. It's definitely a container though on female, because I've dated Muslim girls, and it's like they're if anything, they're more explosive than Western girls, because they're kind of breaking out of that. But that's how they do it. Yeah. No one to me has been a bigger cock block than the man himself, than Jay-Z. Let's have a look at what. Yeah, JC is the only guy, Jesus of Nazareth, is the only guy where maybe 5, 6, 7 girls I've got with, I've not basically have not had sex with me because they were devoted to the man himself. It's an interesting devotion. I can think of the Congolese girl, the Nigerian girl, the girl from Seville. Those are the three that stand out, but there's been others as well. Those are the three, a few in the Dominican as well, Dominican girls. Those are the three that stand out though. And those were proper wife type style, wife level women. And they were not suppressed because they were afraid of, the consequences. Like, they didn't have an external suppressant like you have in Islam. It was internal. It got inside them. And that is what is interesting about this man, is this man gets into your consciousness. He creates a conscience inside you. That's the interesting thing. Islam doesn't do that. It doesn't. Islam basically, the way Islam works is rules and strictures. So does Judaism as well. Judaism is a bit more of a moral core, and the Islamic style of law, that's basically the same as Roman law or Greco-Roman law. This is a common rule of law. They don't make a pretense to get inside the person. Nazareth does, and it's much more ambitious. Like, it's basically, I don't care about the world. I want your soul, meaning your consciousness. I want your mind. That's what Nazareth is interested in. And when he has a girl's mind, you ain't getting through, my friend. You ain't getting through. So it's an interesting thing, came up against many occasions. I could not vanquish Nazareth. The ultimate fucking cockblock. What am I gonna do, dude? I ain't beating that guy, dude. And these were real Christian girls as well. So let's have a look here. My stream keeps lagging. Apologies for that. Well, in that case, I'm just speaking to the void, I'm afraid. I like to walk and talk. I don't like to stream in my fucking apartment, I do that sometimes, but like, I'm here in Belgrade. I'm in front of St. Sava's Cathedral there. I'm walking around this stunning city, this beautiful neighborhood, this 1960s style city. So I just want to show people the real deal. Maybe it's being delusional. I know it probably is being delusional, but I don't want to be like the run-of-the-mill manospheric influencer at all. I actually want to show, because those guys are in their fucking bedrooms. They don't show any infields with women. They don't show a travel lifestyle. They don't show real adventure. And if they do, it's completely fake and curated. What I want to do is just show you the raw stuff. So yesterday I did a live. I'd just been out and done 4 approaches. Today I've just edited up and put up a live, an infield of me in Colombia, which is, I don't know. I mean, if people see the level of infields that I'm putting up in Colombia, at a certain point, after like watching 10 of them, me doing it in my 3rd language, at a certain point, to extremely fit girls, when I'm 40, 5'8" and bald, at a certain point, I'm hoping that the right guys who think, I would like to have that ability as well. And I would like to meet Joseph, and I'd like to see if we can work together and train me up in that ability. It's just a nice secret agent thing to have, and the younger you are, actually, the more valuable that skill is. If I'm being honest, like, for me to learn that at 37 was valuable. Fuck me, if I'd learned it at like 23, Jesus, goodness me, I think my life would be more advanced in a way, because the woman question would have got taken care of completely by like 25, 26. So wouldn't the physique affect it though? If you fat, it might be lower. What was I saying? Physique affecting what exactly? I'm not sure what it was. I would say with the physique thing, work on the physique to, give yourself a few months to work on the physique. You're not in a first mover, you're not in a position to be doing daytime approach, in my opinion, at the moment. So you need to get yourself in a position where you respect yourself enough to say, you know what, I look in the mirror and I go, you know what, I look all right now. I look all right. Yeah. Like I've made improvements in the way I look physically. I've lost a bit of weight. I've started to gain a little bit of muscle. I'm starting to look a little bit more, I'm starting to look a little bit more yeah, just respectable, improve your wardrobe a little bit. I've actually got a social circle now. You know what? And what you'll notice is these are external solutions, but they will build internal confidence. And eventually, like I'd say, I know we're going into winter now. If you're out in Canada, give yourself at least 2-3 months. I'd say give yourself 3 months of working on your social skills and your physique and a bit of dress, and your social circle itself. Develop that social circle, because otherwise you've got nothing to bring a girl into. So work on that first. You're only in your 20s. Work on that first, and I suspect what will happen is you'll work on it, you'll realize it's going to take a bit longer, and you work on it through spring as well. And by the time next year rolls around, it'll be like, I'm definitely ready to go now. So that's kind of, and in the meantime, you can still chat to girls, yeah, here and there. But I really want you to work on yourself first, because it sounds to me from what your description was, you just didn't like yourself enough, and we want to give yourself a decent shot, the best shot possible once you start to get into approaching. So anyway, so it's interesting, the question of religion. I said there that guys are kitty cat worshippers. But when you have other structures in place, you have religious structures in place, I do have some admiration for the way the Muslims do it, I have to be honest. The more time has gone on, the more I've sort of looked at them and gone, these are just a gang. And they're saying, look, we can't be bothered to learn all the ins and outs of female seduction and so on. So that's not the way we're actually going to do it. The way we're going to do it is we're just going to go, look, these are the rules, we make the rules, we're the fucking men, we run the society, we're bigger, stronger, more organised, we've got the AKs. Any further questions? And there would be, and here's the thing as well, women love that shit, dude. Women fucking love that shit. So they love other things as well. Yeah, they love the Western side of things, they love the transgressive element of Western culture, they love that shit as well. So it's almost like you're going to go down one route or the other. You're either going to go down like the Islamo-fascist route, or you're going to go down an outlaw seduction route. And unless you're in an Islamic country, then you're probably, or a culture, then you do kind of end up going down the outlaw route a little bit in the West. That was the route that got me the success, was to be this. I can't even say really on a live. I actually can't even. What the fuck are these guys doing? That's a red light, dude. Yeah. Fucking insane Serbians. I can't even fully express on a live, to be honest, how transgressive I went in my peak. It's fucking insane. The stuff that got the RSD guys cancelled. I wasn't doing stuff that was as gimmicky as that, but it was pretty fucking extreme. Yeah, and it's like, here's the feedback loop. The more extreme the stuff was, the more it worked, and that was actually pretty fucking scary. I remember one of my exes. I can't even talk about it because it could be misunderstood. I don't want to give people like. It's a very subtle type of game where the girl knows this is a kind of role play and fantasy, but at the same time, the stuff you're saying, the stuff you're doing, how you're acting out, it's kind of, she gets this fantasy of like, fuck, I'm with like an actual dangerous criminal here. But she knows I'm not, because she knows me, but it's just kind of the dark side, right? And yeah, some of the things that, I remember one of my exes, who's a very nice, like gentle person and everything, she told me after she dated me, and it wasn't because of me, it was just her own internal attraction. Years later, we still stayed friends a little bit, and years later, I was like, oh, so, are you dating anyone, or you got a boyfriend or anything? She's like, nah, I can't really date at the moment. I was like, why not? And she's like, well, the only guys I'm attracted to are guys I'm actually afraid potentially would kill me. She's an interesting girl, that girl, because she's half middle class but half fully ghetto, like fully Sheffield ghetto. That's the two halves of her life. And so she has kind of social acquaintances on both sides of the tracks. And I was like, it's interesting. Sure, it's interesting. So there's something, in her female biology that just is almost like hybristophilia, a phenomenon where women are attracted to like psychopathic killers. And who watches all the psychopath murder? This is the part that's frustrating about, the climate, where you've got to be where middle class men have got to be so gentle towards women, and yet at the same time, what are the women flocking towards? Series about serial killers, and they're obsessed with them, especially young, attractive women, the women you actually want. So like, it's fucking weird, to be honest with you. It's like that's a point of this kind of not acceptable to discuss in society, but it's completely real. Does that impinge progress as well in society? Would it be better just to have these strict rules and go, you know what, we're not dealing with what anybody wants anymore. Here's how it's going to be. You're going to get issued a wife once you get to a certain rank, and the wives, you're going to go, okay, you've got this choice of these 3 husbands. Pick. No, he's taken. Okay, you get your second choice. There you go. There's no optionality in it. The Republic of Gilead, or Islamofascism. I mean, it could come to that 50, 100 years down the line. I've heard people say that, like, there's people at the technologists and stuff. They've made arguments that more technically advanced, innovative societies tend to be more generous towards women and so on, more egalitarian. It's just not true. It's just not fucking true. The biggest advances in human history came between 1900 and 1960, and that was that was when it was still very much, engineer goes back to his housewife, and that was pretty much what it was. The technological progress has completely ground to a halt in the last 60 years, despite the propaganda. The only sector which has actually advanced is IT, and everything else has stagnated. I mean, to an extent unprecedented in the last 250 years. Only IT has developed. As you can see, you walk around, I've said this on yesterday's live, walk around your city, anywhere you are, and you'll find, like, you look at it and go, how is there any evidence I'm not in 1980? There isn't any. The only evidence is screens and smartphones, but that's one area of technology, so basically an irrelevant area of technology. Vapes actually could be seen as progress in a certain respect. Non-tobacco based smoking products. It's pretty minimal, right? And so since women have had more influence in society, since they've been given a birth in so many companies and so in science and so on, science has stagnated, universities have stagnated. I'm sure, that could be a correlation, it could be causation. There's something interesting there though. There are other reasons, there's other reasons as well. I mean, the nuclear bomb was definitely a big jolt in humanity when it came to how far should science progress. Fuck me, should we slow it down now? It's interesting, I said this yesterday, that the most irrelevant form of technology is IT. I mean, it's pretty irrelevant. In terms of, the impact it has, like, on our physical lives, is pretty irrelevant. But it's by far the sector which has developed the most in the last 60 years, and potentially because it's the most irrelevant. Now, it has the ability to come back through via things like the internet and this YouTube Live, and by AI and by influencers and by online culture. It has the ability to come back through and filter back into the real world. That's very interesting. But ultimately, it doesn't change the buildings. It doesn't change the fact this fucking building site here in Belgrade has been here since last summer, basically. It's fucking slow. Serbian builders. Slow. Fucking useless. Yeah. Like material science, has it advanced? Brick and mortar, has it advanced? Not really. So yeah, you could look at other periods in history, particularly the Greeks. They just cast aside women. It's like Sparta, Athens, you just cast them aside. Said, nah, you're not having any position at all. Is it a coincidence that the Athenian aristocracy produced the first serious civilization, and in some ways the most life-affirming and dynamic civilization? I mean, they loved life, really, in a way that we don't. You know, our civilization doesn't. They adored life, celebrated life, and also had this. Basically, all of our maths comes from Greece. All of it, basically. And they just cast aside women. They're just like, nah, they're just property. Don't educate them, just whatever, right? Interesting. And there are thinkers, the ones who are bold enough, and they are outcasts, who actually say, no, that's the reason why, because they didn't have to think about that bullshit. They just thought about maths all day. They didn't have to think about their whatever, wife, whatever. So these interesting thought experiments, I've covered a lot of different angles there on today's life. We're pushing into taboo subjects. I've said I think there's an element of female dressing up in a hyper attractive way. I think there's an element which is a power trip. I do think that's, if they're over about 18, 19, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt up to that age, but by that age they'll have started to notice, this can have an effect. It can get me some attention, get me what I want. Beyond that, it's some kind of a power trip, or is it attention begging, or is it both? But there's something there. It's not just to feel good and to show that you're an adult woman. I've also talked about how women productize themselves. It's very interesting. And then I've also talked about the different religious angles on the approach to dealing with men and women. And ultimately, the reason dealing with, you go, why do you need to deal with women at all? The reason is you can't have children without them. That's actually the material reason why. Yeah, so and you could say it's the same with men. If you can't control the men, they're just all running around like chimpanzees. If you can't control them, you can't build anything. That church was not built by the girls, yeah, it was built by fucking men. It was painted by men. It's just like the whole thing. Yeah? The girls can't do it. So you need to control the men and you need to control the women. And so yeah, so on that front, society will always have an investment on the wombs of women. It's just it would be stupid not to. It would be stupid not to. Incredibly foolish. And the liberal response to that, which is to reject that, oh no, women it's a disembodied response. It's a response that has no respect for society, for the world that you live in, for the hundreds of thousands of years of strife that people have gone through for us to even fucking be here, for the buildings to be up, for the cathedrals to be up, for the nation states to have been built, for anything. If there is not like a level of interest and serious interest in basically female sexual behavior, you can't have civilization. So what you're now finding in the US is the guys are going, oh well, we've just been told we can't say that the girls shouldn't fuck around too much. That's not true. It's not true at all. They shouldn't. You can bang a girl who fucks around, by all means. By all means. Don't seriously date one though. Don't seriously date one. The only exception to that would be like if you're a guy if you got a body count over like 100 and the girl she's been with like 10, 15 guys, that is actually probably acceptable, because you think about it, your sexual experience is 10x hers. Yeah, it's kind of like, do I need a virgin really? At my level of body count, do I actually need a virgin? But if you slept with one or two girls and your girlfriend slept with 15, I think you're out of your depth, to be honest. I think you're out of your depth, really. But especially American men have been told you shouldn't care about a woman's body count. You should bang them, but don't fucking invest with a girl who's been fucked left, right, and centre by lots of different guys. Leave that to the pros. because that's a girl who only a pro is, even if he wanted her, it's only a pro is going to be able to handle her, realistically. Just all the psychological element of it. And I know myself, as my number went up, it was easier for me to handle female sexuality, and that's normal. Yeah? Doesn't mean it's a good thing to get your number up. I used to think it was. Now I don't really care. But this is my advice. If you were a guy with not much experience, would be to date a girl who's a virgin or semi-virgin, as in like maybe she's had 1 or 2 boyfriends, right? That'd be my genuine advice. And it's viscerally off-putting for men as well, for a girl who's the type of girl I would never date was as a girl who I perceived to have been passed around. That's the type of girl I'm just like a standard Latino guy, not fucking interested. There's a girl in the club, I know her, she's fit, flirtation, went on a date with her, and it's like I'm actually realizing now this chick has got passed around this club. And when I say passed around, I mean it's a kind of passive ragdoll. Like, certain girls have got a somatically high sex drive, and it's really built into their body. You know that when you're with them, it's like this is just in their nature. It's not. This is not. She's in control of it, but she has a high sex drive. That's one thing. But if a girl who's just kind of drunk and out of control, her behaviour's out of control, and she's getting passed around, that's just, to me, that's just disgusting. It's just utterly. It's really repulsive. It's like a girl literally smeared in shit. A girl like that. The girl who's just sultry, she's elegant, but she does have a sex drive. Girls like that, I don't really mind so much. But when my own experience was lower, I wouldn't have been able to handle that. So yeah, if you don't have that much experience, I would suggest 2 things. If you're going to date seriously, date someone with less experience than you, so you can show them the world a little bit. And if you're going to date girls with high body counts, don't take them seriously. Use them to get your body count up. So again, I say a lot of controversial things on this live, but that's the truth. That's the truth. That's what you should be doing. There's a lot more truth that needs to be told in general. So in my little micro corner, I'm just going to tell the truth. Yeah, it's okay. What have we got here, guys? So Clipper, I don't know what you're referring to there, mate. You don't get a wife, you just get a 10. So this is the problem with American guys, unfortunately, is you've been exposed to such low quality women, and your culture is so mercantile and crass. I have a totally mental view on US culture, because I think it's the only country that has produced any serious innovation in the last 30 years, and for that I respect it. It's the only country that's projecting some type of ambitious view of the world in the last 20 to 30 years, right? The only country really that in the second half of the 20th century moved the needle forward, right, seriously. So on the one hand, I respect the country and its structures, obviously set up by Anglo culture, I'll say that, Anglo capitalism basically. But on the other hand, the actual culture and the day-to-day interactions with the people, I would say 80 to 90%, no, probably 80%, not the full 100, but the 80% are just crass, stupid, moronic, and that's both men and women, fat, graceless idiots, and that's the 80%. The top like 10% of Americans, there's like guys appear on my channel and stuff, these are like the greatest guys of all time. Like, these are absolute fucking legends, because they've got that all-American energy and that sense of like optimism, and we can do this, which many countries don't have. Many countries do not have. Most countries don't have. The Serbs don't have that. The Americans fucking do. And they've got some finesse, they've got some education, they've got some intelligence. That bracket of guy is like fucking supreme. Yeah, they're absolute legends. But that's rare. That's like 10%, if that, if you're lucky, maybe 5%. The 90%, the 80% are fucking idiots. And then when it comes to the women, unfortunately, you guys have got, fuck me, dude. What you guys have got is something else. I can't even begin to comment on what you guys have got. It's the worst of all worlds. Like, Brazilian girls are promiscuous as fuck. Don't. There was literally a study that came out recently. I think Brazilians are the second most promiscuous. I think Americans were the most. No, French were the most. Then Americans, then Brazilians. But you've got like the promiscuity of a Brazilian girl with none of the elegance and none of the sensuality and none of the grace and none of the style. It's like, it's not good. It's not good. So, yeah, just use them to practice, mate. Use them to practice. But when you talk about women, there's 4.5 billion women in the world, yeah, with 150 million in the US. So what's that? I want to say about 2% of the world's women, about 2 and a bit percent of the world's women are in the US. It's not a lot. Yeah, 98% of the women in the world are outside the US, and it's a uniquely bad culture that you guys have. And it depresses me to say this, but it's just the fucking truth. I live most of my year in the DR, Dominican Republic, and they're just awful. Those fucking fat bitches who come through from America. I don't care if they're black or white, they're all the fucking same, man. Absolute fucking trash. And again, 80% of them. Sure, there is maybe a 10-20% who are really nice. That is true. I occasionally run into them, occasionally. But I never fucking... for me, it's just a blanket. I'm just like, nah, I just don't trust any of you fucking... I could go on... It's not just an aesthetic thing with me, it's actually the quality of human being they are as well. They're uniquely bad, or almost uniquely bad. Brazilian girls are promiscuous, but there are a lot who, there's still quite a few who aren't, though. In Brazil you can find more romantic type of girls. Obviously a lot of them are promiscuous, but they're sexy, sultry, elegant, stylish. They have a sexy tone of voice if you speak Portuguese, or even if they speak English. French girls are very have a reputation of being very promiscuous. I'm not so sure. I don't know. I've lived in France for 2 years. I found French girls very fucking boring. Extremely boring, dude. Extremely boring. I could have a conversation with French guys. French guys are the most notorious, like, how shall I put this, exploratory womanizers in the world. You go to any country in the fucking world, you'll see a bunch of you'll see 2 or 3, within the first month of being there, you'll come across some French entrepreneurs, and they'll always have a local wife. Yeah, it's just instinct, man. God bless the French. God bless the French. Every country I've been in, Serbia, first month I meet some guys here in Vračar, they've got Serbian wives. One of them's an entrepreneur, one of them's was a comedian, actually. Dominican, same there. One of the guy who owns the coffee shop, and then the guy who owns the co-working space is a French guy. Again, local girlfriends. Go to fucking meet any African girl in Europe, wherever the fuck she's from, she's had a French boyfriend. What was he doing out? You're from Angola, for fuck's sakes. How have you had a French boy? They all had a French boyfriend, right? So those guys are just complete rogues, right? It is the prerogative of the white European man is to go around the world in search of tropical poon. That is essentially that's his mission in life. Yeah. That's why I'm genuinely not resentful of foreign guys who come and they worship white girls and stuff. And I'm just like, I get it. It's just, I know what you're here for, dude. I'm the same. I'm not bothered. But yeah, there's Frenchies everywhere doing it. So I think their women kind of drive them to it. The comedian Theo Von said, he was in England, he was like, I was like, man, I looked around at the women, and I was like, I can see why these guys conquered the entire earth, yeah. From Australia to Canada, from Nigeria to India to Pakistan, to fucking Japan. Like the entire fucking earth, basically. All of Africa, North America. Basically, it was all just a result of the sexual marketplace. The drive to bone foreign poon. drove all of our entire fucking civilization. So anyway, yeah, so those I'm just thinking of the top 3 most promiscuous countries. US is unfortunate, it's just an unfortunate position. And it's because it's become way too liberal, and it's a combination of liberalism, marketing, I think some of the religious, it's like you've got the Christian forgiveness of women and the Christian generosity towards women, which is the spirit that underpins it, but then you've lost the religious responsibility that comes along with that. And then you've added capitalism and Sex and the City and all this trash on top of it. And you've also trashed the education system to the point it's basically, education basically starts in the US in university almost. Yeah, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a shit show, to be honest with you. And despite that, there are still probably 5, 6, 7 million very, very smart people, and there's probably 500,000 extraordinarily smart people in the US who've driven enough innovation to essentially support the rest of the whole fucking world for the last 30 years. Yeah, so well done to them. But at a mass level, there's 2 different cultures going on. At a mass level, it's a different thing. And those, yeah, the other promiscuous girls, like the Frenchies or Brazilians, at least you're getting something for that promiscuity. So I've gone off on a rant now, but if you're an American guy, I would highly, if you're an American guy, your only option is to travel. Be mature, start approaching, and your only option is to travel. You have to. You have to use the American girls for practice, but your option is to travel. And also stop saying all this stuff like it's just your turn, bro. Like, please just stop with the copying what you hear in the manosphere. Most of the manosphere is complete trash. Look at the guy who's the supposed head of the manosphere, who's heading for a jail cell in the UK for a very, very long time. I've been doing a lot more research on that guy, Mr. Tate, this last week. And I knew the guy was a sociopath and a scumbag because I used to be a club promoter. I'm a genuinely upstanding person, I just am. It sounds like a weird thing to say, but because I was a club promoter, I have to kind of say it. A lot of club promoters are fucking scum. It's about 50-50. And it tends to be one extreme or the other. It's like, oh, this guy's absolutely safe. I get what he's doing. He wants to have this great social event. He's passionate about nightlife. He's passionate about people. He's passionate about, I get it. He loves it. And then you've just got the guys who are, they got promotions and stuff, but they're basically using the promotions as a way of selling drugs. And there's all sorts of, the amount of vermin that you'll come across in nightlife is quite extreme. This is part of the reason I got in, because the owner of the place I had my night at is also a fairly upstanding guy as far as the scene goes. He does this he goes a little bit far on his nights out, but he's not he's above board on everything basically. His operation is above board and everything, and he liked me because I'm the same. He just got that, like in the discussion with him, I was very professional when I approached him. The clients I was bringing in was really good clients on the nights, and so once I got his trust, I had free reign, to be honest. Whatever I wanted to do on the nights, he would just let me do, and just give me some ideas and stuff sometimes, but I had complete free reign. But in that scene, obviously, I'm a fucking club promoter. I encounter drug dealers like all the fucking time. I know exactly who's who. I know what the fuck is going on with everybody. And the amount of scum vermin out there who are utter, I don't know if I can use the word on YouTube, but there's a word that's been used at times which means below the level of a human. And that's what these people are. They are pre-human hominins, and they're fucking scum. And when I saw Tate, I was just like, yeah, he's just a standard drug dealer type, standard scumbag type. But he's a battering ram against the woke. Back in the 20-teens, when it was kind of necessary, the 2020s, it needed a battering ram, and because the right wing, or the centre really, most of the so-called right wing were mostly in the centre. it was so in such a state of shock. It was kind of like anyone it became very heterodox. It was no longer the conservative movement, the Republicans, the Conservatives in the UK. They were either unable to respond, or they were ineffective. Or in the case of the Tories in the UK, they basically took their lead from the left because they're fucking pussies. So anyone who was actually centrist or right, anyone who came along with any type of presence or voice or money, they were all kind of accepted under the same umbrella. So you have these weird live streams where it's like Elon Musk and Donald Trump and Andrew Tate, and then there's the gay presenter as well. So you had this really weird mixture, this really weird union. And Tate got in on that because he was the battering ram. But yeah, some of the stuff I've been learning about that guy is just fucking grim. It's really fucking grim. This last week, I would actually recommend look him up on Companies House, Emery Tate, and look him. You'll see all of his companies have been struck off. By the way, you can look that up. Go to companieshouse.co.uk and look up Emery Tate and look up Tristan Tate if you actually want to see their so-called business record, and then look up the companies that they founded, and you'll see exactly how they got access to the cars. Yeah, because they founded a rental car company for high-performance rental cars. So that's how you get access to the cars. And then you go on social media and you pretend you own them. I remember thinking at the time, I was like, it's not possible. Like, I used to work in Monaco before. I've had a very interesting life, right? One of my first jobs was working in Monaco in family services. Yeah, and those people, like, an average level of wealth there is a net worth of 30 million. That's average there. 100 million, yeah, you're all right there. But there's like 10 billionaires who live within like a 2-mile radius or something. Right, so it's an element of the global rich that lives there. And so, like, when I saw the cars that Tate was driving, I was like, hold on. He's talking about having 10, like, $1 million cars or $2 million cars. That means you've got a collection of cars worth 15 to 20 million. Okay, so that's untaxed, or even if it's untaxed, it's still unearned income. So what would your net worth have to actually be to own those cars? Like, what would your net worth actually have to be? Even if you financed it, your net worth would have to be fucking astronomical. Your net worth would have to be like 100 million. Because even people who are worth like 30 million, they have like a top of the range Land Rover. They have like maybe 1 or 2 Ferraris or something. They don't actually have like, they don't have like 12 sports cars. Like that are worth, they don't spend $12 million of their $30 million fortune on a depreciating asset like a car. Yeah, they would spend that money on property or investments. Yeah, and they spend like 3-4 million just to enjoy themselves on cars if they were into it, right? I was like, this is completely demented. There's no way. How does this guy own all these cars unless he is worth like Jay Leno? He's basically like. He's worth into the hundreds of millions in the US. He's got a collection like that. So I remember seeing that early on, thinking there's something weird about this guy. Look him up on Companies House and you realise, okay, yeah, he owns a rental company. So they're obviously not his cars, but he has access to them and then he pretends that he owns them. Okay, whatever. So you see the whole thing is just based on fraudulence and lies. But then you look deeper into it and it's fucking insane. So people like, parroting this shit that they hear in the manosphere. That guy, Fresh and Fit, dude. This Fresh and Fit's background is he worked in like the passport office in Miami. Yeah, there is no background. Okay, he comes on the scene at 30 years old. He's got no background of anything. Yeah, he's got this weird face, like hasn't really done anything. It just comes on into the manosphere. The only one I do respect actually is, although he's obviously a very long way from modern dating, and he's obviously a bit bitter as well, is Rollo Tomasi. I do respect him though, because this graph that he put of male value peaking around 35, female value peaking around 25, 100% spot on. And I didn't know that I'd never seen it like executed like that. That one graph is worth, that's him down in the kind of history of contribution of recent history to men. Back in the day, that would have been well understood, but in our culture, kind of liberal equality culture, where, well, surely men and women's values are going to be the same, you know, whatever age they are. No, he outlined that perfectly with that graph. So he's the only one of those guys I respect, but other guys like, you know, the fresh and fit guy, the guy entrepreneurs in cars, they don't show anything in the street. They don't show anything of them interacting with women. They don't show anything of them going to clubs. They don't show anything of them on dates because they don't have anything to show, basically. In most cases, they don't have anything to show. And if they do, it's just because they're famous and they just get followers through their fame. Yeah, that's not actually replicable game that guys can go and use for the most part, right? So, yeah, I don't have much respect for any of them. So I would recommend not parroting the bullshit you hear in the manosphere and trying to go off your own experience. Stop copying what other people say and think. So yeah, I'm sure even in the US, you know, one of my wings, you see him on a recent interview with me, he does very well, but he's had girls in America completely obsessed with him, in love with him, and devoted to him as well. So he's actually a better person to discuss the US market, but he does talk about how it's a hookup culture, but then at the same time he's had his experiences of very devoted American women. So that will be a counterpoint to this idea that it's just your turn. Most of the guys who say that as well, they're saying that because they're not even getting a turn. They're saying that as a cop-out because they can't even get laid. Let's have a look here. I'm walking too fast. Hold on. I'll slow it down. So yeah, I just come on to these lives essentially because at the moment my workload is quite reasonable. Sorry about the background noise. My workload is very reasonable at the moment. So I'm making the most of the fact I can put up loads of videos and do loads of lives. Once September comes around, I've got contracts starting up, so I can't do as much. I can't do as much online, so I'm just putting my credit card away here. Let's have a look here. Okay, so, oh wow, we've got a lot of comments here. So, if she's proud of a body count, thank her for showing you not to invest. It's, you know, it's a kind of a lot of girls. Yeah, it's a lot of American girls. They do things to like, they're not very self-aware. So like when they show off about these things, it's so obvious that they're showing off, right? And this is the thing about the US. It's like, it's a very an incredibly unself-aware culture. Incredibly unself-aware. like astonishing to any other place, basically. So when they show off about these things, right, it's essentially like, it's transparent that she's just doing it to be a bit rebellious. And yeah, it is thank you, because whatever she's doing it, you don't want to invest in that. Someone here saying, I wonder if I can find a virgin. You definitely can. And you shouldn't, it depends on your experience level. Focus on your overall compatibility. And yeah, that's what I would say. I'd say focus on your overall compatibility. And you want your girl to be less experienced than you, basically. Or if you're both virgins, then that'll be a different thing. But that's going to have a religious and cultural backdrop. Like the Mormons, for example, if you were both to be virgins. So out here in the wild, let's say your lay count is 4, go for a girl who's had 1. Yeah, if your lay count is like 50, then you can have a girlfriend who's slept with like 5 guys. You can. It's not that big a deal. Leave women alone. I mean, if you're saying that out of genuine detachment, then fine. But if you're saying that because you're bitter and resentful that you just can't find anybody, then I would say honestly, work yourself to a position where you can legitimately leave them alone because you know you can get them. If that makes sense. Like, you want to actually be able to get someone, and then you're making a choice, as opposed to just, you can't get anyone because you don't know how to approach women properly, and you don't have a choice to make because the choice has been made for you because you don't have any ability to pull anyone. So I'd say get to a place where you can actually, you're not making a decision if you're not getting anywhere and you don't have anybody. That's not really leaving them alone. That's, no one wants you, you're being left alone, and you're rationalizing it. So you want to get yourself to a point where you can at least get something, right? And then you can make the decision. That's the MGTOW way. The so-called MGTOWs, guys like Running Man, go check out his channel, he's a good guy. The so-called MGTOWs, they're actually in many cases guys who can get women, and they've got like an extensive track record that they can, but they realize that the whole family structure responsibility is just not really for them, so they don't bother with it. But they mostly can get women, so don't delude yourself. Passport bro, hedonist moron. Yeah, you see, bruv, I mean, yeah, sure, I'm a hedonist moron. Dude, I don't say it on this channel because it's not really part of the channel, but I was an academic scholar at the University of Oxford for European languages. It's the top language institute in the world, and I got a scholarship there, and I left school at 16, yeah? So maybe I'm a retard, maybe I'm a dumbass, I don't fucking know, yeah? It's unlikely though, it's unlikely that I'm stupid, to be honest, yeah? So I'm advising guys who are looking to maximize their dating options, and yeah, if you want to be a cretin, you want to stay in Milwaukee, wherever the fuck you are, whatever retarded part of the USA you're from, you want to date girls who are 30 pounds overweight, go ahead, mate. I'm not here to help people like that. I'm here to help guys who are actually ambitious and who want to see what is out there in the world. Could they get a better deal overseas? And if you're American, the answer is yes, dude, because you have the worst women on earth. The fattest, most graceless, the stupidest. Okay, I don't want to dwell on that. Come to Serbia. Come to Belgrade. If you're from the US, your eyeballs will fall out of your fucking head. Let me tell you that. There are no fat chicks here. And when I say fat, I mean, there's no girls here with a body fat of above like fucking 10%. It's ridiculous, dude. Yeah, it's like pure fucking eugenics. I think they kill all the fat girls, right? Or go to Dominican Republic, or go to Bosnia, or even come to England. You'll still find a better class of girl than you will in the US. Go to Colombia, if you dare. If you dare not get scoped. Most promiscuous countries, Australia, fine. Birth rate is below replacement level. Yeah, I'm a pro-natalist. Coach. I'm a pro-natalist guy. I want the right people to be reproducing. It's important. It's sad what's happening to Europe. Leaders taking the Gulf state money so they look the other way. What's happening to Europe is actually really simple. I'll briefly explain it now. And it's the same as happening to the US. There was an experiment, so there was an experiment in the 1960s, a social experiment, which was called abortion and the pill. Both of them are antenatal technologies. Obviously, abortion, you're directly killing a child. The pill, you're stopping children being conceived in a natural way. Both of those introduced in the early 1960s in the USA, Australia, New Zealand and the UK. UK and Europe. And in all countries, it takes a few years for these things to become socially normal, socially adopted. It's not like they're legalized and then the same day everyone rushes to get the pill and rushes to get their abortion. That's not, at first everyone's like, this is a bit weird, like, it's only sluts who do that type of thing. But within a 10-year span, it becomes socially normalized. Doctors start to offer abortions, doctors start to offer the pill, and you get a vertical drop in the population. Go to a population chart. If you're intellectually diligent, go and check out the population charts, and what you'll see is from about 1967 down to the mid 70s, you get a vertical drop that is worse than the drops in World War One and World War Two. So those antenatal technologies crushed the birth rate of Western Europe. For whatever ideological reasons they were introduced, I believe it was ideological, and I think it was sheer stupidity on behalf of the ruling classes, and ideological. You know, we're giving women freedom of choice. This is post 60s, right? Post 1960s. So you have an antenatal technology introduced, the birth rate plummets to around 1.2, and then the only way then to sustain a population with, even if it doesn't have access to medicine, but once you've got broad access to medicine, you're going to have an aging population. But even if it doesn't, and the death rate is like most people are dead by 75, 73, even if it doesn't, you're still not going to be able to replace your population rates. So the only thing you can do then is migration to supplement your population. And that's why every country in Western Europe, the UK, Australia, and the USA, it's why all of them have accepted vast swathes of migrants from the developing world. Because what's the point? You know, people going from France to the UK, that's irrelevant, really. It's like France is below replacement, so is the UK. It doesn't really make a difference. The whole continent is below replacement. So those two technologies cause a dip in population, which can only then be replaced by mass migration. And so all the stuff people are seeing, it's the Islamic thing, it's the Gulf thing, it's the fucking Jews, it's the banks. It's really not. The banks are involved. The banks are involved, but the reality is, with a birth rate of 1.2, 1.4, 1.6 for the last 50 years since abortion was introduced, you had to replace that population, otherwise you don't have pensions, you don't have a workforce of working age. So you had to replace that population. The only way to do it was with migrant labor. And so that's what they did. That's what they did. And it permanently changed the face of Europe. And the first few waves worked out okay. There was friction, but they worked out okay, and they've just continued and they've accelerated it. And now what they've realized in Europe is the social programs are so heavy and our innovation is so pathetic. Again, this is why I still respect the US, even how much I insult it. I still respect them because they're the only people who produce innovation, and the only way to increase the value, the value available in society is through innovation. Yeah, or the other way is broad economic scale, and the way to do that is people, basically migrant labor. And so those are the only two models available. Europe has opted solely to go with migrant labor, and their version of innovation is Uber Eats and Amazon warehouses. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. How they haven't cottoned on to this is beyond my fucking imagination, to be honest. It would be so easy for Europe. It would be so easy for them to at least begin the process. Like, the talent is there, the drive is there. You've got so many smart graduating kids coming through, and they're all going into bullshit fucking jobs in recruitment, in law, stuff that doesn't advance the economy at all. At all, does not advance the quality of living, which is why, okay, I'm in Yugoslavia right now. Yeah, does this look modern to you? But this could just be any city centre in, like, the UK, whatever, Europe. It's all the fucking same. Nothing has actually changed. You take away the screens and you realise, fuck me, there is no innovation. The bins are still fucked. Yeah, the plumbing is still fucked. The buildings are still fucked. The cars are the same cars you've been driving for the last 60 years. There's no innovation at all. So yeah, and we've gone down a route of importing people to simply replace the population. We haven't even thought about innovation since the 60s, basically. I'm sorry, screens and IT is not enough. It's nowhere near enough. So yeah, there's the rant there. But that is, I've looked into this an ungodly extent. I've been through the phase, it's the Jews, it's the Gulfs, it's the banks, whatever. It's the Kalergi plan. It's even more depressing than that. actually. That would at least give it some malevolent kind of appeal, some malevolent dark appeal, these theories. It's much more depressing than that. It's the stupidity of killing your own children and then and then also not innovating. Double fucking whammy. There you go. Now your city centre is full of fucking Afghanis and Eritreans either not working, or if they're the good guys, they're delivering Uber Eats. Yeah, that's the best ones. Yeah, there we go. That's Europe. Fucking congratulations, guys. Incredibly stupid, incredibly fucking stupid. So the US, for all of its all the fucking problems over there, and the bizarre culture that they've got, at least they've done that one thing, which is they've decided we're gonna actually invest in innovation. Yeah. And maybe it's a cowboy American mentality, but good for them, because without them, there's no internet, there's no fucking anything. Like, well, there would be the internet, but there wouldn't be the development that there is without the Americans. Yeah, central banking, sure. Yeah, so you're all going down the BlackRock and stuff like that. All of that, I understand some of that stuff. I mean, Trump has come out, basically, he basically put a law in place which is specifically anti-BlackRock, which is about not permitting banks to buy housing developments to the same extent that they were. So yeah, that's a factor. But the reason that these things are bigger factors than they need to be, and one of the reasons that politics has got so fraught, is because when you don't have a king and an absolute ruler, and you've got a democracy, what is it? A democracy is just a bun fight. It's a fight for resources. You've got the left, you've got the right, you've got the liberals, you've got the conservatives, but basically you've got the haves and the have-nots, the middle class, and whatever, right? And everyone is fighting for their corner. It's just a fight. When you have an absolute monarch, an absolute ruler, they represent the interests of the people. They represent the top of the hierarchy, and what they say goes. Yeah, it's complete absolute rule. They have to have support amongst the nobles, but it's basically absolute rule. When you have a democracy, it's different. It's a fight for resources, and that fight will always descend into they're taking this. These bastards are taking this off us. The fucking poor people are not working enough. They're too fucking lazy. We can't make any profit. The rich are making too much money. Look at them, BlackRock, blah blah blah. When you don't have economic growth and you don't have dynamism and you don't have real development, then it descends into a fight, because you've just got the existing resources, the apartments over there, the cars over here, whatever capital is in the bank. You've just got the existing resources and nothing else. Whereas when you've actually got new development coming through, the pie is actually getting bigger and it's getting more multi-dimensional as well. So the different facets of society, okay, well, these innovators, they came in, they created $2 trillion of wealth and products and innovations, massive improvements in quality of living. That's going to span out to these people. These people get a little bit more. These people get most of it because they did it, so they'll get 50% of it. But it's going to span out through the markets to these people. We'll tax them, so it's going to go to these people. So when you have innovation, real innovation, everybody benefits, yeah? In multiple ways, in like a three-dimensional way. When you have low innovation societies, it's much more clannish, it's much more gang-like. The Balkans is a good example of that. It's not an innovative society. It hasn't been for maybe ever, I don't know, but it's not an innovative society by and large. It's much more clannish, right? And because of that, closed and clannish. I love the Balkanoids, but that's just how it is. It's very deep in the culture. So you need the innovation, and the Yanks have been fucking innovating. What can I say? Yeah, the Tates, blah blah blah. You're married with kids. Oh, legends. Your woman just made the best dinner, steak and avocado. Good for you, mate. Good for you. Brilliant. You hungry? Worked all day. Good for you, mate. Okay, I'm not going to repeat what you said there, but it's an interesting, yeah. I'm not a Freemason, though. No, I studied Oxford. I I left school at 16 to pursue professional soccer, professional football, and I did my higher level academic studies on my own. I studied in the evenings on my own, which is actually very good prep for university. And then when I was 18 and a half, I didn't get the next contract I was at a club called Hull City. I didn't get the next contract. And I remember looking around the changing room going, fuck, there's guys who are getting released who are better than me, if I'm being honest. I'm like, he's better than me, and he's just got released. So I'm looking at this going, well, if he's got released, what is the chance of me pushing on to get a later contract? And so I took the decision then. I was like, I can't risk it. I can't risk my future on this, because my best case scenario is playing third division football, which is not very high level, or maybe going to like Iceland or something, playing like second division in Iceland. If I'd have gone for it, I might have been able to eke out a career somewhere, but it wouldn't be much of a career, but I would at least get to say I played professional football. I was playing the youth team and reserve teams, which is still phenomenally competitive to even get there. And maybe it was cynicism, but I knew that I had something in my mind that the other guys did not have at all. That the guys who were playing with me were fucking stupid. And I was like, I would have like, I would be going to training and I'll have like a French newspaper in my fucking... So I remember one time a guy, he found my French newspaper in my kit bag, and he started laughing at me. And then one of the coaches was like, why are you laughing at him, you fucking idiot? At least he's educating himself. It was interesting. So I was educating myself to a large degree, going to college one day a week in Manchester. So I trained over to Manchester. They accepted me in to do one day a week, it was generous of them to let me come. And then I did this course called the A level, which is advanced level languages. And when I went to look at universities, I dropped out of football. And I decided, like, I'm going to have to totally reinvent myself here, because the football thing was everything. And if I'm not going to do that professionally, I need to do something. So I'm going to go and study. And I was looking at, languages as being the main thing I wanted to study. Looking around different universities, and the place I ended up was Oxford. And it was interesting because I remember going to Oxford, and I'd go to these different places. I went to Manchester Uni, good city. I already knew Manchester, so I was going to go there. I got accepted onto the course there. But then I went to Oxford. I was like, whoa, this is a different world. I've never seen anything like this. All these old buildings. Funnily enough, the absolute plethora of Chinese students at the time, there were no Chinese students in the UK anywhere else. And I found that really cool. I was like, there's fucking all Chinese people. What the fuck? I've never seen this many Chinese people. It was like maybe 50 Chinese people or something. This is like more than 20 years ago. And so I decided to apply there, and did all the prep and everything. And I just treated the preparation for it. I had an advantage because I've been in professional sport. I was like, the Oxford interviews are going to be similar to professional sport in the sense that everyone who goes is going to be the best of the best. So you being good doesn't really matter. Like, you have to be ridiculous, off the spectrum. It's like the guys who play professional football, you think they're just good players. They're not, dude. They're off the spectrum freaks. Like, if you actually went and trained with like a first division team in the UK, if you're like an amateur player, you went and trained with them, you'd be like, these guys are not even human. I had no concept that this was what a professional team actually was like. The ball's moving so fast, you can't even fucking see it. Yeah, the positions are moving, everything is going so fucking fast. It looks normal on TV. You've got no concept of the speed of the game. It's fucking ridiculous. And the accuracy and the finesse is just insane, right? The decision making, how quick it is. And so that's the thing at the high level of anything. But I thought those interviews, I was like, this is going to be the same thing, but it's going to be intellectual instead of physical. So I just prepared, and I was like, right, I'll prepare such that this is my Olympics now. So if anyone beats me, fair enough, you're a better man than me. But in my mind, I was competing against the other gifted students in the UK that I knew that would be going to the interview. So in my mind, it was a competition. So I'd get up at like 8, I'll be studying, and I'm only like 19 at this point. I'd study till like 11 p.m. So 8 till 11 every single day, right? Weekends, everything, totally obsessed. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, if the guy I'm competing against, what if he got up at like 12 o'clock today, and then he studied till like 6? If I've just done 3 times as much as him, even if he's the same or we're about the same, I'm gonna have more reference points. So I'm gonna be a more dynamic candidate. And so that's what I did. So when I arrived, they looked to like the reading list that I'd read, and they were like, you read the Quixote? I was like, yeah. I read it's a 1,000-page book in medieval Spanish. I'd fucking read it at age 19. I fucking understood like 30% of it, but I fucking read it. I read all these different books and I had all these different ideas about them, and you know, I'd really, really prepped. And so when I went to the interviews, you know, did the interviews, I pretty much smashed the interviews. We had some entrance tests as well. I did okay on those. I was kind of at the lower end of the acceptability chart. If it was just on those tests, I would have no way got in. But the interviewers said to me, like, they became my professors later on. They were like, yeah, your interviews was honestly one of the best interviews I've ever had. It was just incredible, like incredible to see someone that young who was that like who was that fucking intense, and it was just prep. Maybe I actually overestimated the other students, because in my mind I was in football mode. So I was like, I'm just like, I'm going to be up against some freaks. I think there were 1 or 2 who were like that when I got there, but they weren't. I wasn't up against them in my particular interviews. There were people like that though, so it wasn't an incorrect assumption. So yeah, I'm not a Freemason though. No, not a Freemason. It was, and then you get there and it's just like, okay, what is the whole special thing about it? It's not that special, to be honest. A lot of old buildings, and you just have, the way they make it special is they just overwork the students so much that it's impossible for them not to be very, very knowledgeable in their field. Because like, for example, if someone came to do an immersion with me, right, we're doing cold approach. If I pushed you into 30 approaches a day for a month, so by the end of the month you've done 900 cold approaches, it would be impossible for you to not be good. If we were in a reasonable city, like you would definitely be good. And you'd have got laid, you'd have done all these different things, and like you'd have achieved an extraordinary level in that one discipline, right? And in a weird parallel, it's the same with academia. Like, they just give you so much work that you're constantly anxious, because you're constantly thinking, I'm never going to be able to hit these deadlines, and you somehow do. And you're working like 80-hour weeks. You're like fucking 20. You've got an 80-hour-a-week job at 20, which you're not even getting paid for. So that's how they do it in Oxford. When I was there, it was the pre-DEI woke stuff as well, so you knew everyone who was there was good. There was black students there, there was minorities there, but they were fucking good. They were fucking good. Everyone was good, you know, through either immense work ethic or through talent, or both. But I mean, the depressing part that I realized so much later is a lot of what we did study was bullshit. A lot of it was pointless. It had been infected by liberalism. The languages faculty had been infected by liberalism and Marxism. Unfortunately, we didn't understand it back then in the way that we do now. It's much clearer now. I remember asking a few questions, like, why are we learning this feminist stuff, post-colonial stuff? I don't really get it. I quite like some of these books, it's pretty cool, but I don't really get it. So the brainwashing was more successful back then, because we just thought it was all cool. We thought it was hip to learn about feminism and to learn about post-colonial writers, and there are some good writers, to be fair. But yeah, that was a scenario. It was a rich, like, intellectual environment back then. You could say anything, dude. You could say anything. If you had evidence for your thesis, you could say absolutely anything. I remember a guy saying he wanted to introduce like socially mandated hand jobs for guys, And we took him like quite, it was like, this is so hilarious. But I was like, go on then, what's your argument? He's like, well, sexual frustration causes depression, it causes aggression, causes young men to be less productive. It's the biggest burden young men carry. So what we need to have is socially mandate. This is before like mass porn was available, but it wasn't quite where it is now. It's like, so we need to have women, like it's part of their military service. They have to give like 2 hand jobs a week or something. And it's purely just so the guys can stay on the straight and narrow. I was like, it was quite funny. And he made his argument, and he didn't really have evidence, but he thought it was a good argument. He's like, yeah, we just need the right leader for the hand job revolution. He's a professor now, that guy. He's a professor in the Czech Republic. So it was a good time. For me, it was like, this is why I've had an interesting life, because I went from Sheffield, which is just like normal middle class life, and then getting into the world of football, which is, Sheffield's quite rough, but I was in the middle class part. And then into the world of football, which is this Darwinian and then into football, which is this Darwinian competition, physical prowess, right? And that was my world, that was everything. And I was studying for a release just because I love to study on the side. And then when the football thing fell apart, I had a conscious desire to reinvent my identity, because I thought I'm probably only going to get one shot to reinvent my identity. So I'm kind of going to go from a jock to a nerd, to put it bluntly. That's what I'm going to go from. I'm a sports guy, now I'm going to go to an intellectual guy, because I think I can make the transfer across. And so I worked so hard to get that opportunity, got the opportunity, worked my fucking ass off at uni. Then I got an opportunity to go and work in Monaco in France during the economic crash of 2009. It was a miracle I got that opportunity. I had another opportunity in Russia, but I never quite made that. And so I started my career off in France, and all was going well, but unfortunately I got bad health problems when I was out there. Unfortunately, it really derailed my life. So then all I was doing for like 2 years was like freelance translation, and I was really fucking ill for 2 years when I should have been in my prime. And then after that, I was like, man, I'm only 26. Look at people, like, your life has already been nuts. Like, you were a professional footballer, you went to Oxford, then you moved to Monaco. Now you've had this like life fucking changing illness for 2 years. And I was like, yeah, dude, I feel like I'm 90. I haven't stopped for air. And that's when I started to go down the more exploring the social world more. And I started to become I became the party guy in a way. But I was still smart and sporty. I just added this partying element. And then eventually that kind of took over. And she became a club promoter. So it's like, there's not many people who've actually done all of these different things, like football, Oxford, Monaco, major health crisis to the point I didn't even know if I was going to really make it, to social guy, to club promoter, to nomad who's lived in 17 different countries. It is an insane spectrum of experience that I've got, which I think it's why I'm interested in this space, and I can help a lot of different types of guys. It doesn't really matter what type of guy. I can really relate to anybody. Like some of the guys in Oxford, these kids who went to Eton and stuff, that school's like 50, 100 grand a year, something ridiculous. They were cool guys, they were nice guys. They have problems just as much as anybody else does. And then the guys in football, some of these guys from like sinkhole estates and stuff, and the guys club promoting, fucking being around some of those scumbags. It's just a lot. It's a lot of different rooms I've been in. Fuck me, dude. From the changing rooms at Hull City, yeah, to playing against Aaron Lennon and some people back in the day, Huddleston, to to a tutorial in Oxford with a fucking world level professor who's got a medal for translation from the King of Spain. So then working in Monaco, hanging around with billionaires, with prostitutes. He used to sleep with billionaires. Then into the nightlife scene, and like fucking club owners, club promoters, drug dealers, strippers, and then to traveling around the world to all these different countries. So it is honestly like I've lived about 5 different lives in one lifetime. I say this to some of the guys in the mastermind that I'm part of as well. Is one of my advantages has been always that I don't drink, or I barely drink. I only really drink when I'm on a date. And I didn't drink until I was about 30. That was when I started to drink a little bit. I mean, really a little bit. And that's what, when people like say like, you've done so many different things, I just don't drink. That's it. I never have hangovers. And I maybe take an hour or two time to myself here and there. Like today, I sat in the park before I came on this live for about 45 minutes. And then I come on and do a live. So I've got a channel going on, coaching guys with this, learning the cold approach. I've got my other business going on. I'm still training like a complete animal. Just sold a book this week as well. If you can, I might start putting my link to my book in the my fiction book in the description. Something I'm quite proud of. So you have all these breaks of like 2-3 hours where you're doing fuck all. You're on the internet doing nothing, and just ask yourself, could I actually do something with that time? That's how I managed to combine football with my studies, just in my downtime, dude. And it's how I stay fit now. Just you've got more time than you think. You're not as busy as you think. You're not fucking Elon Musk running like Tesla, SpaceX, and Solar City. You've got more time than you think. You can go out, do a few approaches. You know, you can go to the gym. It's not actually gonna. You have more time than you think in most cases. So we've been all over the place on that live. I don't know if I'll be able to keep this one up because it's not very focused. So if you've tuned in live, I'm Joseph. The main focus of this channel is daytime and nighttime cold approach. Help guys with their personal lives, because it's an area which, to round all of this off, after all my experiences of the world, of the sporting world, the academic world, the business world, international travel, one thing became obvious to me, which is if you don't have good relationships and you can't generate relationships with the opposite sex, your life is going to be pretty fucked, to be honest with you. And you're going to end up being a pussy worshipper because they're going to seem so exotic and wonderful to you. You're going to be a kitty cat worshipper, and this is not what I want for you. And so I've got a very interesting life now where I can almost go monk mode if I want, but at the same time I can go out into the street and I can like literally practically pull girls in the street at 40 years old, and which you can see on camera. And so it gives me a sense of kind of calm that I've got a skill that I can just deploy at any time. It's like, James Bond, like he doesn't, he's got a license to kill. He doesn't need to go out fucking shooting up everywhere every 2 minutes, but he knows in the back of his mind he's got a lethal weapon that he can use. And so that's the ability there with daytime approach. It's a very nice addition to your social life, and it's definitely worth learning. At this point in time as well, it's still relatively affordable. If this channel gets big and the brand gets big, in a few years' time, it's not going to be affordable anymore for your average or middle class guy. But right now, you probably, if you've been in work for a couple of years, you'll probably be able to afford the service. It's a really cool service. It's a baptism. Every guy who's done it has found it to be useful. In many cases, it's been life-changing. And I come on these lives, I talk a lot of philosophy, but really it's all action. When we're actually in the field, these lives, these videos, is a way for you to get to know me, to get to know my story, to get to know just my thoughts. And maybe I'm a person you would enjoy spending some time with. You maybe have similar thoughts to me. Maybe you've been in a similar journey. Maybe you're a guy who's got the intellectual side and the physical side, both. Is interested in both sides of the thing. Maybe you travel a little bit. If that's the case and you want to learn cold approach, I can definitely teach you. So if you want to get in touch with me, Links are in the description. Go check those out. But yeah, the weird part is it allows you to detach from the woman question, and it's just really cool. The honest truth is now, I can go out and do those closes and stuff. Like there was one infield I just released today, which is just fucking textbook. I make it look easy. It just sounds arrogant, but it looks fucking easy. But if you put 100 guys in the field there and saying go and get that girl's number, I guarantee probably 97 to 99 of them wouldn't be able to. I guarantee that. And I do it time after time on camera, in different countries, because it's a skill I've developed over a long time. But here's the real interesting part at the end of it all. I don't care about myself anymore. I really don't. I'm not doing this fucking channel for me. I'm doing it for the culture. I'm doing it to help guys who are out there. I'm doing it for you guys. My situation is sorted out. I've got a sort of mature level now where I'm like, what do I actually want in a woman? What do I need from a woman? It's not what you think you need. But I want to help other guys. There's so many billions of women out there. This toxicity online is just bullshit, dude. Like, you don't need to be fucking 6'5". You don't need to be a fake millionaire. You can be a fake fucking rich guy like Tate. He's rich now, but he wasn't rich at the beginning. He was all fucking fake. You don't need to be toxic. You don't need to be depressed. There's billions of women out there. You only need one, and if you've got a few, hey, you've got more options than you need. I'm doing this to help other guys, and then eventually I hopefully meet some of you boys, and there's a connection now. There's a there's a fraternal feeling there, and this is what I want to build up eventually. So you don't want to be a kitty cat worshipper, man, because they're not trustworthy people. But you want to just be able to get women as part of your life. That's the market of guys that I am looking to serve with this particular channel. And these are just thought experiments I go through in the evening. I like to share my thoughts. I think there's a lot of people who are starving for these kind of conversations, to be honest. There's so much moralism online, with the looks maxers, the fucking fake alpha males, and it's just, even the whole alpha male, the whole alpha male thing is a form of gender dysphoria, basically. It's not fucking normal. Like, if you're obsessed with being an alpha male, but you're probably a bit mentally disturbed, to be honest with you. So, anyway, we'll leave things there for this evening. Hopefully this has been interesting, boys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I will, I'll take it easy. IP trace, the rest of my issue. Take it easy, guys.